Becomes the conversation part of our Thought Maker series. I can obviously tell, I think we all enjoyed that show. Was it worth it? Yeah. The reason I really wanted to show here is because I want to show the Latino stories we never see in the media. And this is a story that is a hopeful story. It's a story about a man who came to this country and what he's built. And so I think it's a joyous celebration of our Latino culture. Hope you enjoy. This is the fourth time you've done the show.
Fourth time, right? Yeah.
Fourth time. How do you feel about it?
Feels great. Actually, every time that I deliver it, one of the things that really affects me is the stories that I hear once I walk off the stage and I'm in the halls. And people stop me and say, hey, you know what? I completely connected with what you said. Here's why. And they tell me their stories. So that tells me that there are 53 million Latino stories in America. Would you agree with me on that?
I still think it's 54 million.
And growing.
We keep growing. We definitely keep growing. Now, how did this story come about? I mean, Gary, you came up with this story.
So that's a good question.
What's the inspiration of this?
You know, Gary Acosta, the co-founder of NARD, had heard little bits and pieces about my story, and you know, maybe he was a little bit perplexed. How does this kid from Michoacan arrive here, you know, as a baby, undocumented, sin papeles? Yeah. How does he get over the border? And what puts him to where I was introduced to him now at this stage of my life? And so he thought that he probably wanted to ask a few questions. And as he asked those questions, he probably found that there was a thread, a common thread, of my story versus the 54 million Latino stories in America. And then he started to just bring it out and say, you know what? We need to tell this message. This is a great, great story.
Yeah, I know a lot of times when you work on stories and shows, a lot of times the artist won't understand how great their story is because they're living it. And having, you know, if you sat there and said, I'm telling a story about an immigrant from Michoacan, without papers, come to America, and now being one of the top real estate professionals in Los Angeles. I mean, that to me is an amazing story right there. That's a story we so seldom hear. But I think what's also great about it, I think it reaches out to non-Latinos as well. It's not particularly just a Latino story, it's really an American story, an immigrant story, and I think that's one of the great things I see every time I watch it.
It's funny that you mentioned that. We just we presented 53 million and one in Washington, D.C., and I was going up the escalator when I see this man come up, and he was, you know, darting up, wait. I didn't think he was talking to me, so I kind of got out of the way, but no, he actually wanted to approach me, and he looked at me and he said, your story is my story. And I looked at, he was not Latino, trust me, so he was back from the old country, maybe somewhere in Europe, and he said, exactly what happened to you, almost word for word, is what happened to my parents, is when my grandparents arrived, is when I was born, and he just parlayed everything into what he said. Yeah. So he said, this is not a Latino thing, he said. This is how we all arrived here. And when he said that, it was kind of a breath of fresh air and saying, you know what? You're right. Yeah. America is the land of immigration. Yes.
It really is. I mean, when I had a show in New York on Broadway, and I was amazed one night that I heard this. I was in a club, and I heard this man go, "You funny man, you very funny man, you funny." Well, I'm being insulted. I have no idea what this is about. "You funny man, I see you play Latino logs. You make me laugh, you funny man. I'm from Russia, same story." And that's what's great about a universal story. That it reaches out and it touches everyone and brings them in. And I think what's great about this story, it's what NAREP does. It creates community, it creates homes. And when you tell one man's story, you really tell the story of an entire culture, which I think this is a great, first generation story especially, And I think it's going to travel all around the country, first of all. This is just the 4th performance. It's scheduled to be touring throughout May in Texas. So if you have any friends in Texas, start telling them about it right now, because we'll be going out to Texas, going to California, all over the country, about 35 cities, actually. So this is going to be the NAREP tour. And what's great about that, this is what Gary Costa was able to bring out, was we're creating the Latino touring circuit. So as this place is a great destination for Latino artists, it's also a place that makes us go out and tour and brings to further and further communities. What would you say was the biggest surprise that has come out of this performing this?
You know, Rick, one of the biggest surprises for me was that I didn't know my story myself. So there was a whole lot of self-exploration that I needed to do, and it was almost therapeutic. Gary and I locked ourselves for 2 weekends in a row in a hotel and just, said we're not going to leave here until we put this and encapsulate these experiences into these little tiny vignettes and then kind of thread them all together. Because I think one of the most powerful elements of 53,000,001 is that the story is true.
Yeah.
And that's part of the beauty. When I say Aurelio Monreal, does anybody know Aurelio Monreal? When I talk about my abuelita, Mama Maria, who knows Mama Maria? When I talk about my third angel, and that's Ernie Reyes, how many people were touched by Ernie Reyes? So, I think Aurelio's wife is even here, Maria, his beautiful widow, and Amanda, his daughter. And we pay tribute to the people that really came forward and made a major impact and nudged us or pushed us or motivated us to take us to a better place. And I wouldn't be where I am today had it not been for my angels, my messengers, the people, my ángeles, my Mama Maria, my Aurelio, Lelo, and Ernie. So powerful.
We talked about during rehearsal that the immigrant story is really, when you think about it, someone who comes to this country, maybe not even speaking English, no necessarily friends or family even here, to travel thousands of miles to really work a job to send back money to Mexico to their family. And to me, we talked about this, that sounds like a hero story. That to me is a hero. And that's what I think you so poignantly put up here. You're telling a story about, with us all, many times we don't realize how remarkable our story is. I mean, you think about it, so many people here's family have done the same thing. I think of my family who came on over, and these are stories of American heroes. These are the stories we're not hearing. What would you say is, in doing this show around the country, any differences you found in the audiences so far?
Well, one of the big differences is that everyone seems to throw all the Hispanics and Latinos in a bucket because they think that we're all from Mexico, right? They think that we all roll our R's and say, suelta la chalupa, and this kind of stuff. But nothing could be further from the truth. There are all kinds of beautiful colors of Latinos and Hispanics, whether they're from Ecuador or from San Salvador, Guatemala, Peru, Colombia, Cuba, and so on and so forth. So as I Nicaragua, as I travel from all different parts of America, I find pockets of people, and they all like certain colloquialisms that are close to them. And here in Los Angeles, obviously, very high concentration of Mexicanos. A ver, ¿quién dice? ¡Viva México! Because there's about 38 million of us in the United States, and out of the 53 million, 38 million of us are from Mexico. And I am proud to have been born in Michoacán, Mexico. So for me, that's one of the beauties, is understanding the difference between the arroz con pollo, moros y cristianos, y que la yuca frita, versus over here what we do, los chilaquiles y las tortillas calientitas and that kind of thing.
Well, they always say the difference between Latinos is basically the color of our beans. Cubans, black beans. Mexicans, frijoles, pinto beans. And it really is true, but I think what's great about it, we're also very much a family. And our differences we see as something that unite us all. That's one of the great things about this show and this story. Are you surprised also when people are laughing? Was there places that you're a little surprised by?
Sometimes, especially when my dad makes his comments, and talk about a hero. Talk about a hero. Talk about somebody that worked around the clock. My father, I think, is somewhere in the audience today here, tonight, both my mother and my father are somewhere.
Or can they stand up? Are they right there?
A ver, pónganse de pie. Get a hold of this. We'll be celebrating 50 years of marriage in June of this year. I'll stand up and give them a round of applause. Love you. Great parents, but I'll tell you, the reason why this resonates is these are all live characters. I see Vicente and Santa there. We went together during the secundaria, my years in Mexico. You know, my buddies from Park Regency and my original broker, Joe Alexander. Where's Park Regency in the house? Right? Okay, you know, these are true stories. That's what, you know, it's what we did. It's what made us who we are today. And of course, Aurelio's family and all of us that loved Aurelio Monreal, and of course, Nara, which is what we all love together. It is the Latino experience. It is the promise of the future. And as I say at closing, the fact that I know that the future generations and the future generations that follow you are going to have it even better than how you have it. So let's hear some love for that.
I think what's great about the Latino experience is we're such an optimistic people. We are so optimistic. Anyone who can come to this country is an optimist. To sit there in Mitchell Con, you're to go to Chicago. You'll be performing in Chicago, so it's not, it's Mitchell Con Avenue, you can call it, not Michigan Avenue. Do that. Call it Mitchell Con Avenue now. Mitchell Con Avenue. Would you? But I think being the optimists that we are you also touched by the fact that how people really emotionally connect to the story? I mean, you can hear people, I mean, I hear in the audience where I'm hearing sniffles. I hear people getting teared up.
You know, and we give people every opportunity to walk this journey with us, and it's an emotional journey. It affects me every time I live it, because I have to go through that from the moment when Daddy crosses over the border, risking his life, thinking about how Mom felt, leaving me in Tijuana with somebody while she would bring my brother over, all these different things. They are emotionally driven, heavy pieces, but that's what life is. And so when I hear people and I see them being touched and they come up and they tell me their story and you know, they're still crying and they say, you ruined my makeup, Jerry, I look so beautiful this morning. You know, I carry that in my heart and that gets me charged up. So next time I'm on stage, I pour out more because of the stories that you share. So don't be shy. You have a story to tell me, I'll be here after the show. Let's shake hands, let's break bread, let's hug each other. Vamos a besarnos. I mean, let's do whatever. Let's make sure that we connect like brothers and sisters so that I can know a little bit more about you, because that just empowers me, Rick.
Yeah.
It takes me across the country.
Well, you know what's great about this is this theater is really the home for Oxnard. And people say, why Oxnard? And I always say, why not? It should be Oxnard. This is 7% Latino. This is a particularly Latino story. And I'm glad that NAREP is here because, you know, a lot of times we don't see Latinos as the business leaders that we are in this community. And NAREP are great business leaders. Every time, when I went to the convention, you guys, you basically had me join. But you know something, I like joining NAREP because they can take you to great dinners. NAREP guys dress nice. Oh, it's constantly meeting NAREP guys go, why did you get that suit? It's amazing. So it's probably one of the funnest group of people to hang out with. But my dad was a salesman. My dad went door to door every day and he told me one bit of advice. He said, I knock on about 100 doors, but around the 100th door, I finally hear one yes, and that's all I need to hear. And that's what I love about the salesman and in you, that you have that optimism. You're out telling a story. What would you say would be your biggest dream, how you'd like to see this story go?
So my biggest dream is, we have a moonshot at NAREP called the Hispanic Wealth Project. And that is the goal of tripling the household wealth of every Latino Hispanic household in America. So I plan to take this message all across America to find the inspirational leaders, the business people, the success stories, the people that are going to be leaders in their own right in their own community, the small entrepreneurs, the mid-sized companies, and the large institutions that say, I want a piece of that. I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that dream of tripling the amount of Hispanic wealth in America. So if there's one dream that I have, Rick, is to give that message and say, hey, if a guy can come over, sin papeles y todo, and then take a little chunk of this, so can you. So join me, we'll teach you, we'll empower you, we'll tell you how to do it, so you in your own communities can take people from renting into ownership, from poverty into investments, from being fully invested in only one investment to diversity, and we're going to do that. And people that want to raise their hand and say, I'd like to open up my own office. I'd like to open up my own business. I'd like to go into business for myself. I'd like to do something that has me as the CEO. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? Yeah.
Are you all ready to be 3 times richer than you are today?
Yes.
So if you are, then keep hanging out with NAREP. Keep supporting NAREP, keep supporting this institution. And those that are Ventura and Oxnard Latinos, remember, keep coming back here and let's make this an institution home that we can show the finest material out there. And this show, 53 Million to 1, is one of the finest shows out in America today. Thank you. Thought Maker series, we also like to take questions from the audience. So if there's any questions, this is your time to ask them. And anyone have a question? I see some people chomping at the, okay, right there.
Mr. Jerry,
Yes, Lucy.
when are you going to do it or show this in San Fernando?
That's a great question. Let's hear from Lucy. I like that. She knows a great San Fernando. Actually, the Nuevo Latino tour, including my bud Rick, we're going to be traveling between 25 and 35 cities in America. We're going to do the Texas leg first, so we're going to do Houston and Austin and San Antonio and one more in there, help me?
Austin, Houston, and El Paso.
El Paso. And then we're going to shoot back to Southern Cal. So in terms of San Fernando Valley, I would love to bring it to North Hollywood in the El Portal
Theater. Yeah, the El Portal Theater.
How many people would go there? Huh? Yes, absolutely. We would love for you not only to go there, Lucy, but to bring your friends, your family, your relatives, and say, come listen to this story. It's a story that reflects us. That's what happened to us. And they're bringing it to El Portal Theater in North Hollywood. Maybe around end of June, beginning of July. We'll be back in California.
It's a great theater. It's where we have the CBS show always goes there. And it's one of the best theaters in Hollywood. And I think we're both San Fernando Valley natives.
Yes.
So that's where my family is. In fact, I see my little daughter here, Sonora. Sonora, will you stand up?
Hi, Sonora.
So she's... What's great about Latinos, we keep our family very close to us. And Sonora is I think, what we Latinos are. We're constantly evolving and changing and contributing to America and making this country such a great country it is. And she, I say, is Mexican because she's half Irish and half Mexican. But so she's a Mexican, but she speaks beautiful Spanish, so I'm very proud of her and how educated she is. That's her goal. Another question. Yes, young man back there.
What was the question? How many places? So the show or myself? Well, I'm asking me. Thank you for that question, young man. So I travel outside the San Fernando Valley pretty much my whole life until now that I hit the speaking circuit. And now I've been in Oxnard, in Ventura, in Sacramento, in San Francisco, in Oakland. I've been in Washington State, in Oregon, in Arizona, in Las Vegas, in Dallas, in El Paso, in Austin, in Houston. That's the one we missed.
Yes, Houston.
In Houston, in Miami, in Orlando, in New Jersey, in Queens, in Brooklyn, in New York, in the heart of New York, and so on and so forth. So you join me for the ride. It's a lot of fun.
And not to mention Latinos, the largest growth of Latinos is now in the South. It's been the South is the largest growth of Latinos. So we're all over the country. Yes, sir.
Yes, Jerry, can you tell the audience what NAREP's mission statement is?
Thank you, Fernando. Absolutely. So at NAREP, our mission statement is advancing sustainable Hispanic home ownership. I grew up as a tenant, it was not fun to live in the trailer. Our shower was about yay big. And that was where all of us showered. Mom, Dad, Javier, Rick, Gina, and then later on when Christine was born 13 years later. All of us in a little tiny shower like this, with a little tiny water heater that's about that size that pumps the hot water into that shower. Although we were full of love, it was not a fun experience. We want to make sure that we advance sustainable Hispanic home ownership to every credit-worthy, qualified buyer all across America, but particularly in the Latino community, Fernie. And we want to make sure everyone gets that opportunity to own a little bit of the American dream. And I was going to say that some people walk up to me and say, Jerry, but this used to be Mexico once upon a time. Yes, you're right, but we're buying it back one APN at a time.
So Jerry, you're a family man, and you raise your kids in an environment that they could have been a statistic instead of a success story. As a fellow father, and I know the answer to this because you and I had this conversation before, what piece of advice do you have for us as parents to help our kids to be success stories and not failures?
Jorge, that's a great question. And I would say, submerge them. Don't expose them. Submerge them into all things Latino or Hispanic. Submerge them. Submerge them into the culture. Submerge them into the language, into the customs, into our food, into our music, into our culture, into our traditions. And if those of you that are faith-based, praise with them. Okay? Yes. If you go to Pacoima, California, to a little tiny, very poor and humble church in the heart of Pacoima, right next to the projects called Guardian Angel, and you show up there at 10 o'clock for 10 o'clock Mass, you will see my father, Don Javier Asensio, playing the guitarra. Yes. Myself playing the guitarrón. My two sons that are sitting right over there playing the trumpet, stand up Alex, playing the trumpet and also playing the vihuela right next to him, Adrian. And backstage, my stage manager, my roadie and everything else. Little Jerry, come up here and show some love. That's little Jerry right back there. Submerge them in all things Latino. Expose them to NAREP. Enséñales a hablar español. You are robbing your children of half the goods that are for them if you strip them away from that beautiful language, a language that they will speak to God with and to girls with. A las muchachas les encanta la plática en español, okay?
Hi guys, we're here with one of the best successful people here on California. Or on the world too.
Much.
Yeah, international?
Well, no, all national. No international real estate, but we're creating a little bit of waves out there, definitely.
Okay, so what's your name for everyone?
Sure, my name is Gerardo Jerry Asensio, and I'm the former president of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and the presenter today, the one-man show, 53 Million and One. So, Jonathan, thanks for the interview. I'm excited to be here with you.
Thank you so much. So I want to start with the first question. So you said you come from Michoacán, Mexico, and now you're all successful, and you have a beautiful family. So what was your inspiration, your motivation to succeed in this country?
That's a great question. So I was brought here as a young child, only 6 months old, when I originally crossed the border without status. So I came in as an illegal, undocumented immigrant. That's my story. I grew up here in the United States and then flourished and became part of the mainstream community. I was able to obtain my permanent residency, and then I was called into real estate. And the reason why is I lived as a tenant as a kid. So I went to 9 different schools. Why? Because they would not renew our lease, and then we needed to move again, and then they would not renew our lease, and we needed to move again. So all that uncertainty and all that lack of balance is something that I said, you know what, I'm going to make it my life's work to make sure that every Latino family has an opportunity to have a home that they can call their own, which is sustainable home ownership, and that's what we stand for.
Wow, guys, this is inspirational. So I know that to be be in the business of real estate and selling houses and be a good seller, you need a motivation. You need to be inspired and stuff, where do you get your motivation, your fire from books, or where all the energy and stuff that you getting fire and start like doing business?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. So what happens is, I don't have a boss. I only work for myself. So you must be self-motivated and you must take action without supervision. So what keeps me motivated? Number one, I have very specific, definitive goals. I know what I want. I know the quality of lifestyle that I want for my family, and I never graduate. So I'm still studying the books. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson, The 5 Major Pieces of the Life Puzzle by Jim Rohn, and I can go on and on and on. And those textbooks are my textbooks. I don't study philosophy 101. I study business 101. And that's what takes me to the next level. When I'm having a bad day or a bad week or a slump, that's what picks me right up. I hear some audio material that is positive, that is full of energy. I attend a beautiful presentation like this presentation, 53 million and one, that just uplifts my spirit once again and reminds me of the why. Once the why becomes clear, the how is easy.
Oh my God, he said Jim Rohn, he's one of the best like public speaker out there. Well, he died already, but he was one of the best. He said success is something you attract by the person you become. So to attract that, they want you to become the person. And it was just like that phrase, it was just deep right here. And it's good that you listen to all those audiobooks, because it keeps you like motivated and stuff, and you learn from philosophy from other people that went through, they had a life, and you can learn from their mistakes and stuff. Well, I want to ask you this question. I know that they probably be important people that mentor you and show you the skills of what you need to be successful. Who are those people that you think that helped you a lot in difficult times and mentor you to be a successful person that you are right now?
I don't think that happens by chance. I think that's all by divine intervention. That God actually sent me 3 messengers along my life to be able to point me on the right path. The first one I would definitely have to give my gratitude to is my grandmother, because when I went back to Mexico as a 16, 17-year-old, I lived with her for over 2 years. And it was a really important time because it taught me about commerce, it taught me about business, it taught me about being an entrepreneur. It taught me the possibilities of never working for anybody else, but working for myself. The second one was definitely a very dear friend that we lost recently. His name was Aurelio Monreal. He was also a realtor, and he's the one that actually pointed me to the office that had success and where I was able to flourish. And that's why I came out, in the newspaper and on TV. I was interviewed by reporters like yourself, etc., Channel 4, all this kind of stuff, all because he pointed me in the right direction. And the third one that had a tremendous impact in my life was Ernie Reyes, the co-founder of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, because through him I found life mentors, like is for me Gary Acosta, the other co-founder, that has helped me grow, has helped me expand, has helped me elevate my thinking to where there are no limits on what we can actually accomplish. And that's pretty exciting.
Of course. Wow, that's really motivating for me, because you have to understand that he came from Michoacan, and he's a human like us. You get me? So if he can do it, we can do it too. Thank you for the interview, sir. It's a pleasure for me interview you, a successful person as you, and I wish one day I'll be in your status.
And Jonathan, and that you will, and that will everybody that's a viewer here. Aspire to something big. Think big. There are no limitations. America is bountiful with opportunity, economic opportunity, where you can flourish, where you can grow. Any skill you want, you can learn it, you can hone it, you can work on it, and maybe one day, like me, coming in as an illegal immigrant into this country and ending up being invited to the White House and speaking at the base of the Washington Monument in front of a crowd of only 15,000 people. If I can do it, you can do it too.
Ahí está. There you go. White House, man, with the president. It was President Obama.
No, the previous.
Oh, the previous. Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you very much, and good luck to you. Thanks for watching.